What's up, everybody, and welcome into the Wiregrass High School Football Report. We look at all things high school football in the Wiregrass. I am your host, Phillip Jordan, covered Auburn Tigers for the Auburn Wire for spent many years doing Dothan Woods football on 96.9 The Legend. And we are here in July, and we are here to start previewing teams every week, getting geared up for the season, which is really about a month and a half away. So the high school football season is very close here in the Wiregrass. So what a better time to start previewing some teams here on the show. And we're going to start things off with Ashford. The way I'm doing it right now, which a couple weeks ago, a little taste, interviewed Dothan High head coach Jed Kennedy. Of course, during the all season, I did chat with Providence Christian head coach Evan Ballard, new head coach there at Providence Christian. So we're going to be knocking out some interviews with coaches between now and the start of the season to get you ready. And right now we're kind of in 4A Region 2, kind of rolling with that. Well, yeah, we're going to get you going. And, of course, we had Coach Holland, who's now at Rehoboth, right toward the end of the season. So if you're saying, well, why'd you skip over that? We did Rehoboth then. We may circle back to Rehoboth before the season starts. Right now, I'm trying to get some teams I haven't talked to at all during the off season. So, and that's why Ashford is coming up next here on the show. And I will talk a lot with Coach Stapleton. A good 30-minute conversation. I joked with him off the air after the interview. I said, during the off season, I can kind of feel like I can keep the coaches a little bit longer in these interviews than during the regular season. We're about 10, 15 minutes talking about the previous game. We talk a lot. He talks about just kind of like where the program's at, looking back at when he got there in 2023 and now where the program is at going into the 2026 season, his fourth year at Ashford, just kind of how the offseason has been for the team. We'll talk about some players and just overall the feel of the team and, a bunch of different stuff. What was the emphasis going into the offseason for this team? So a lot of good stuff with Coach Stapleton here on the show. Before we jump into all that, let you guys know you can find me in the podcast. Find me on social media at P Jordan Sports. Podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. It's also over on my YouTube channel, Phillip Jordan Sports. Go find the YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell for all notifications, and please leave a comment on the video, and I'll read it on edition of the show as well. And appreciate any feedback. If you share the show, if you're listening to it, please share it on your own social media. That will help out a lot too, because this is an independent podcast. This show first started, it was part of the radio people, which that turned into Digital Strategies. And then last year, the show was independent. I didn't do a great job with the podcast last year. I'm just going to be honest with you. I think I was not consistent. There were some weeks there was not an episode of the show. Do not plan on that being the case this upcoming season. Really, my hope is between now and the end of high school football season, you're going to have one of these every week. A coach interview, conversation, stuff like that. So that's the main goal here in the show as we go through high school football season with this season. So it really helps out a lot when you share the show, especially now, since this show is not affiliated with any website, radio station, or anything like that. It is solely just Phillip Jordan Sports is where this podcast is housed at. Anyways, enough of me rambling on. Let's go ahead and jump into it. Here's my interview with Ashford Yellow Jacket head coach, David Stapleton. Everybody joining me on the show today is Ashford Yellow Jackets head coach, David Stapleton. I'm happy to have you on, Coach Stapleton. Been a while since we chatted, but going into your fourth year there at Ashford this fall, just start off, blank canvas. How's everything been going with you and the team?
Yeah, it's well, first, Phil, again, thank you for having me. I appreciate everything you do for our sport and the Wiregrass. Like, you've always done a heck of a job, and every time you reach out, man, I'm excited to get on here and talk with you. And like I said, I'm sorry I missed you last season a couple times, but we're here now. So, I'm gonna give you some good stuff. So, it's going well, man. We just got back off from the 4th of July week. I gave those kids the week off. So we'll start back tomorrow on Tuesday, and we're pretty much locked in until our bye week, the week before the playoffs, so late October.
Yeah, so when the season kicks off, you guys will be going full every week, and
Oh
that's
yeah.
always That's always interesting to me, because I know, every coach is different how they like doing that. Some coaches will might try to put one in the middle of the season or at the end. What's kind of like your philosophy on that, or how you look at it?
So when my first year at Ashford, we were finishing the second year of the reclass. And so the schedule we had was a schedule that was set by the previous coach. So we finished out that season and our bye week was in the middle and it fell on our fall break and it was just an absolute disaster. Um, I was a first year head coach and we had a decent season, but on that bye week, and the way it fell on fall break, we had a couple kids that missed and then uh, got suspended for the game. But really, to be honest with you, Philip, it messes up the whole ebb and flow of this season. I think we'd won two straight, and then we hit our bye week, and everybody was like, "Oh man, we can reset and get a break." And to be honest with you, we came out the next week against a region opponent, and we were totally flat. We were acting like we didn't belong there. We almost came back and won. We lost by four, but a game that we should have won, but I woulda, coulda, shoulda to death. Anyways, you fast forward to the reclass in my second and third year, and we set it up that way with the intentions of making the playoffs, and we did. And I'll be honest with you, if you have a team and you feel like you're going to be competitive, which I feel like most coaches, they're going to think that way. If you're a true competitor, but getting that week before the playoffs and getting a fresh set of legs up under you, as well as 2 weeks to prep for the first round, we really got to see the benefits of that in my second year when we made the playoffs and had 2 weeks to prep for Oak Grove, who's a phenomenal football team. They run some like muddle huddle, sugar huddle type wing tee. I mean, they're in a huddle. They run up to the line of scrimmage. They're snapping the ball. I mean, it's like in a blink of an eye. And so we had 2 weeks to prepare for something that we hadn't seen all season. And then you flip into my third year, and we had 2 weeks to go prepare for Jackson the best way that we could. And we ended up losing to Jackson. Um, but I just think if you're a team and you're in a program where you expect to make the playoffs, I think having that week before you go on that run is critical. And if it's up to me, I'm always going to do it that way. If I'm the one making the schedule, I'll forever want that week before the playoffs and just ride through the regular season. I think that break early on or in the middle, it kind of messes up the ebb and flow of the season. And I feel like when our guys are on, we're on. I think last year we were on like a 4-game, 5-game winning streak. So to me, it's like, man, we're just going to keep our foot on the gas and keep going. And then when we get right there before the postseason, it's almost like a whole new season. And I'm forever going to look at it that way. After we won against Oak Grove, then went to Tallahassee, was a really competitive game in the second round of my second year. I think it was 14-7 at halftime, and we let that one slip away from us. But what I took away is that the postseason is a whole new season. And um, again, if I'm the one making the schedule, Philip, I'm forever going to do it that way. So that's kind of my stance on it and how I've looked at it ever since really my second year at Ashford.
Yeah, it makes all sense. And then obviously when you're going into the playoffs, especially you guys you have to you play some guys on both sides of the ball, you get them some rest and kind of it's got to kind of be a good way to kind of get a mentality check because I know a lot of people say just one game at a time, but obviously it's different
Mhm.
when you go from the regular season to the playoffs.
Right. Yeah. It's a whole new feel. I think too. Like it's a moment for them to get their minds right and understand that like, hey, this is you know it's do or die time. Like it's single game elimination. And
Mhm.
so again, I just think for me and for our program and really for the rest of my time as a head coach, I'm always going to look at it like, okay, we're going to prepare ourselves in a situation where we're best suited to go on a run in the playoffs. And I think that week right before the playoffs really sets the tone. It almost feels like a fall camp type of vibe. Just getting ready for a second season. It really feels like a brand new season. Like when you're out there practicing, it starts getting darker, it's getting colder, and it really feels like the regular season's in the rearview mirror. And okay, we're on a whole new chapter of the season, and I've enjoyed it. We're doing it the same way this year again because the expectation of our program now is that we're going to be one of those four teams that make the playoffs. We got some phenomenal teams in our region, and the goal is always going to be to win the region. Um, but just when I think about the Ashford Yellow Jackets, just like how I think of how Strawn has been for a long time as like a team that is always going to be in the postseason. They're a tough football team, and they're always going to be there. They might be the 4 seed, they might be the 1 seed, but they're always a postseason football team. And for Ashford, that's where we're currently at, and that's the expectation for myself. That's the expectation of our coaches, our players, and then our entire program is that hey, we're going to be playing in November, and hopefully, one of these days we're going to be all the way there to that first week of December, and the ultimate goal is to obviously hoist up a blue map, and um, we're going to keep pursuing. So.
And as I introduced you to start off this interview, going into your fourth year there at Ashford and back-to-back years making the playoffs, as you mentioned there. When you kind of look back at when you took over the job and where the program is now, what's been the biggest things that you've seen that has changed and helped the Ashford Yellow Jacks improve on the football field?
I think it really starts at the top. I think our superintendent, Brandy White's done a great job. And I'm not just saying that because he's our superintendent, but he really has done a phenomenal job. He's poured into the coaches in our county. And I think we're getting to see the fruit of that labor. You know, Cottonwood's coach has done a hell of a job. Wicksburg's coach is always in the postseason. Um, Coach Chitty's the new head coach at Houston County. He used to, but was a coordinator at Ashford, and so now he's come back. So it's like we're bringing guys back in, and I think Rehoboth made a great hire in the offseason with Coach Holland. I know he was at Cottonwood a couple years ago on that team that I think they went all the way to the quarters of the semifinals. So I think you've got some high quality coaches in Houston County, and I think again, it starts at the top. And I think Brandy White recognized that we needed to have quality coaches in this county, and he made sure that we got those things. And then again, my admin, they've done a great job. Dr. Chambers, Eric Lawrence, they're just always in my corner. Um, and I know, you talk to some coaches around the state, and I'll just be honest with you, when it comes to my admin, they let me do what's best for our program. I guess, and for example, when I first got to Ashford, I think we were short like 50 helmets, and I was really nervous as a first year head coach because that's a pretty big check to stroke to go and
Mhm.
get 50 helmets. And I just told Dr. Chambers, like, hey, we need these helmets, and he was like, Coach, you do whatever you got to do for your program, and that's really his approach just about towards everything. And he's my boss, and if he wants something done a certain way, I'm going to do it. But ultimately, Dr. Chambers lets me run the program and how I see fit, and I'm super grateful for that. And then our coaches have done a great job. We've been able to bring in some volunteers that have been a huge help. Again, Seth Davis is my offensive coordinator. He's going into his second year as my offensive coordinator. And what a lot of people might not know is that he's actually a volunteer. He's full time Army. He's a full time Army
Mhm.
recruit. But then in the afternoon, he puts on his whistle, and then now he's my offensive coordinator. He's a super high energy guy. He's done a great job, and he's a quality guy. And we've got a few volunteers like that we've been able to bring on. We've been able to hire some great coaches as well. We were able to hire Coach Killingsworth from Early County, Georgia. He took them all the way to the semifinals last year as a head football coach and assistant principal, which, I tell him all the time, I don't know how he did that. I think that would kill me. And he's actually going to be coaching our offensive line. And he's the veteran on the staff. He's really not old, but we're a really young staff, and he's got more years than all of us combined. So he's the veteran and a huge pickup for us. We're super fortunate to get him. We were just able to hire Austin Chestnut. He just graduated from Troy. So like I think we've got a really good mix of coaches on our staff, from young to old, but they all bring high energy. They all bring effort. Um, and I wouldn't be a whole lot without them. And then obviously our players have done a hell of a job. I think we've tripled in size, Philip. I think right now going into July, we're at 64
Okay.
active players on our varsity roster. And then on our junior high roster, we have somewhere around 30. So, I mean, total kids in the program, you're looking at, we're scraping 100. So I think when I got here, I want to say there was somewhere around 40, I think, kids in the program. And, and again, I don't ever put that on previous coaches or previous staffs or previous admin. I just think it's right people at the right time. And it's been a blessing for me to be here. Uh, I've enjoyed it. Like, I wake up every day and, I love my job. I have fun. There's definitely good days and bad days, but
Mhm.
ultimately, um, this is my purpose on this earth. And, um, you know, I'm not just a football coach, but it is my purpose. And I'm able to minister through this and what I do with these young men, and I'm super thankful that I have this opportunity. And our kids are definitely one of a kind. They've done a great job. I think the buy-in has been huge. They just kept believing. After that first year, we were 4-6, and we could have easily, if you go back and look, we could have been 8-2. I mean, we
Mhm.
were that close in some games, and they just never quit on me, and they just kept believing in what we were preaching, and just over time, the consistency finally got us over that hump, and then it was like, okay, we can do this, and it really happened in year two, right after the New Brockton game. We went on a stretch, Philip, where we lost, I think, 3 games by one score, and we knew that it would finally get over the hump. We just kept believing, and then we beat New Brockton, and ever since then, I want to say we're like 12-3, I think, or something, 12-4 maybe.
Mhm.
And I think the next week we turned around and beat Op, and then um, beat Delville, and then we made it into the playoffs, won a playoff game, and I just think that lit a fire into our kids. So now there's this expectation to go and win. I think when I got here, it was, hey, let's just go compete. I know that I didn't want anybody to have a running clock on us. And there's 2 games where that definitely could have happened. There was the Cottonwood game my second year, and they absolutely drug us. And HA beat our brains out my first year here. But even in those games, I didn't allow for a running clock, because I told myself when I came to Ashford, we were not going to let any team have a running clock on us. Nobody. And I think that mentality and that approach rubbed off on the kids. And, we got through that first year. We were competitive. We competed hard. And then in the second year, we were competitive. And then we won some games we weren't supposed to win. We beat Dale County, who was ranked at the time. And then we beat Op, who was also ranked, and then won a playoff game. And then you go into this past year, and we beat a 6A football team. Um, Beat Strawn for the first time in school history at Ashford, beat Pike County for the first time in a long time. I think I was like 3 years old last time they beat Pike County. So, and you're talking about some good programs, some good coaches, good football teams that we like, again, Strawn. I keep going back to them. Um, which they're on our thoughts and prayers as well. I know they just lost a player. I text Coach Humphrey this morning, and we're thinking about them in the Ashford
Mhm.
community. But great program, man. Great coaches, super tough kids, and I've told people, like, we need to be strong. Like, if we need to be tough, we need to be a playoff team year in and year out. And ultimately, our kids have bought into that, and they expect that of themselves. So, I'm giving you a super long answer, but ultimately, Philip, like it takes an absolute village.
Mhm.
There's a lot of people I could not do it without, but I'm super thankful for the people I'm surrounded by. I'm super thankful to be in this position, and um, you know, I don't think I could give you a short answer on what's changed since I've been here and why we've been able to have success because I think there's so many moving pieces there.
Absolutely. Hey, podcast world, the long answers are the best ones. Those are those,
Well, there
those,
you
those are
go.
great. Those are the great ones. Looking ahead to this year, and I always like to ask coaches this when I do these previews because you look back when the season ended last year. You're
Hmm.
starting to look ahead to the 2026 season. What was kind of like the most important things for you going into this year after last season ended?
I think the most important thing uh, was to just continue building on what we've built. I think you're looking for long-term success, and what we're trying to build here is something that lasts a long time. Again, like he's again with Strawn football, like people know that's a tough football program, and they're good year in and year out. And there's a bunch that are like that. I just keep using them as an example. But players come and go. We lost some really good players. Josiah Ragland went to West Georgia. AJ Lewis is playing at Faulkner. Zorn Peterson went to Miles College. Braylon Bigham went to Huntingdon. So we signed 4 kids last year to go and play college football. But what happened is now we got an upcoming senior class, and we've got 3 or 4 in that class that I believe can go play college football, and a couple of them already have offers to go do that. And the point I'm making is that when you're building a program, I think you're trying to build something that almost feels like it's a revolving door of players that are going to play up to your standard and play with the effort, energy, and ability that you need to go win on a Friday night. Um, I don't think you live and die on one class coming through. I
Mm-hmm.
think what we've tried to do here is develop players through fundamentals, um, being disciplined, playing with great energy, great effort, and hanging our hat on those things that I believe take honestly zero talent because we've had talented players, but we had to get those detailed things square for us to be where we currently are. And I still don't think we've played our best football yet. And the whole point is that we're trying to get better every year. Um, I feel like we had the best off season we've had since I've been here in terms of the weight room, um, and how we've pushed our players. They've done a really great job. I mean, we've got some kids in the weight room that are pushing big numbers, and I'm proud of them and the way they've worked. And we're going to have some younger guys fill those shoes, but they're fully capable. It's just going to be a deal where now they're writing their own legacy and they're writing their own story. Like we're gonna have a player named JJ Jackson. He's gonna be starting for us on defense, and then he's gonna play a share offense too. But what I told him the other day is like I don't need him to be Zorn Peterson, who just graduated. I need him to be JJ Jackson. And
Mm-hmm.
I need him to write his own story and leave his own legacy. And so again, I think the thing is like you expect these younger players, like now it's their time. They come in and fill in these roles. And again, a kid like JJ, he started for me as a freshman, and now he's going into his junior year. But it's kind of like, okay, well, you're the upperclassman now, and it's your time. But I guess that kind of goes back to as well. We talk about this with our team is that you don't have to be a senior or a junior to lead your team.
Mm-hmm.
you know, and we'll play anybody. Alex Swain, who's a senior for me now, has started for me every year I've been here. He started for me as a freshman and ever since. And now he's a senior leader. But what he doesn't know is he's always been a leader. It's like, man, you were starting as a freshman. And just think what those freshmen at the time were looking at you as like, man, Alex Swain's a freshman, but he's starting,
Mm-hmm.
and that means something. And he's always been a super coachable kid. He leads by his actions. And I just think that's kind of what we try to preach is that you don't have to be a senior, you don't have to be a junior. And you really honestly can be any age. George Willis started for me one game as an eighth grader against Op in a triple overtime game, and now he's going to be starting for me as a junior center. He's super vocal. He's grown a lot as a leader, and I just really like our guys, man. I think we've got everything we need to be successful. Now, I mean, there's some luck involved in that. We got to stay healthy. Our kids have got to stay disciplined and determined. I know like towards the end of the season, some teams will start playing basketball, but like I tell our kids, like, we're still wearing cleats, guys, and like we want to continue wearing cleats. And
Hmm.
we've had to have those conversations at parent meetings from my first year all the way. We'll talk about it. I think we got a parent meeting late July, is that we want to be playing during Thanksgiving. So, like,
Hmm.
selfishly, don't make Thanksgiving plans,
Hmm.
because we plan, like, we want y'all to be at a Friday night football game, and we'll be super thankful if we're eating Thanksgiving uh, dinner, lunch as a team,
Hmm.
and that's the goal. And we were really close my second year. Um, but that's where we're trying to get. And um, again, I think everybody's bought into that, and then now we just got to go do it.
So mentioned this upcoming team, and everybody always wondered, about it. I know sometimes your coaches probably, probably maybe get aggravated with the question, but how's quarterback looking for you guys coming up this season?
Yeah, so Zay Johnson's going to be our starting quarterback, and I
Okay.
don't I don't think that's any surprise. He scored last year. He was responsible for 17 touchdowns. I don't even know how many 2-point conversions. I'd probably put it at a dozen. But he had 17 touchdowns. His sophomore year, he had eight. So what is that? 25. Phillip, he's
Mhm.
got
Yeah.
25 touchdowns in 2 years, and he's still got his senior year left. Um, he's got an offer from Alabama State, North Alabama, and Tulane. And to be honest with you, I, as his head coach, feel like he is slept on as a player. Um, but he hasn't missed one summer workout. He's extremely locked in to be a senior. There is no sign of senioritis. And him and I actually talked about this earlier today. Is that he has a lot to prove,
Mhm.
and he knows that. He feels like a lot of people sleep on him as a player, and I kind of like it because I'm like, look, man, you just keep up this underdog thing because he's really a big dog. So I'm
Mhm.
like, I'm just throwing fuel on the fire. I'm like, yeah, man, like you need to prove these folks wrong. Like, you got a lot left to prove, and um, he's honestly definitely proved himself as a player, but he's got bigger goals and bigger dreams and aspirations. And going into his senior year, um, I know that he's got the right mindset just by one-on-one talks I've had with him. But he's a phenomenal kid, uh, great basketball player, great football player, but um, he's just a great kid. He's super fun to coach, super athletic. He's not a quarterback at the next level, but he's the best player on our football team. So he's going to be a quarterback, and he's going to touch the ball every single play. But I call our defense, and I just know that if I was having to prep for him, it would be an absolute nightmare. It would.
When talking about defense, Zadavian Walker on that side of the
hmm
ball, and you talking about you called the defense. Just talk about where you seen him come as a player during his time at Ashford.
Zai's really grown up. I think it was his sophomore year. We actually had to kick him off the team, and he came back last year with a way better mindset, more coachable spirit, and ended up being one of the best players on our defense. And he excelled at tight end last year as well. I think he had 2 touchdowns last year at tight end. Um, but he's also, when he's blocking, I mean, he's an absolute animal. You've probably seen a picture of him. He's a real long kid, big kid.
Hmm.
He's about 6'3", 240. And when he gets going, he's going. And I told our offensive coordinator, I told Coach Davis the other day that I feel like he's caught the ball the best in June, just from a receiver standpoint. In June we try to get in a lot of our throwing, and Zadavian's catch radius and how he catches in traffic and one on one is very impressive. He's got super soft hands. and he high points the ball. He's not afraid of contact while catching. I mean, to me, he's a true tight end. And then on defense, he can be an absolute nightmare. We played Cottonwood last year, a phenomenal football team, one of the best teams in 2A, top five 2A team for sure. And there's a clip of them. I think they're running counter, and he tackled the puller and the guy carrying the ball at the same time. I mean, it's on a huddle clip, and there's not a lot of kids that can do that.
Hmm.
And we like to call those erasers. That's what I used to say about Jay Ragland is he's an eraser on defense, and Zai does that for us on defense. Um, I think the same thing with him. He's been locked in from what I've seen during the summer. I don't get any hint of senioritis out of him, Alex Swain, Zay Johnson, CJ Hicks. There's some kids in that senior class that probably don't get talked about as much that have played some really meaningful snaps for us. But if I had to say anything about the senior class as a whole, I would just say that, you know, there's no sign of senioritis or them wanting to check out. I think they're very much so locked in and understand our goals and what we expect as a team.
I got two more questions for you. We're about to hit 30 minutes on. Probably kept you longer than I said I would. Obviously we're in early July, and you guys got some workouts going on through July and all that, and then of course leading up to August 21st when you play at Houston County. What are kind of like? How's that going to look between now and the first game of the season for you guys?
Yeah, I think it's really just focusing on us and keep getting better at fundamentals. Coach Weingarten used to say the fun is in the fundamentals. And I mean, we absolutely hammer the fundamentals. I mean, there's a couple things we're going to do every day, and that's ball security, stance and start. And then in our indie time, we're going to work some type of technique or concept, but we're not going to work a million different concepts or even three different concepts in an indie period. Like if we're working power that day, we're working power. Like quarterbacks, running backs are working their tracks, their footwork, offensive lines working power. Everybody's working the same concept, and we're going to get really good at a few things. We're not going to overload our kids. I think at times, if you put too much on kids, they'll start playing slower,
Hmm.
because they're thinking too much. And I think what we're doing in July is working on us so much that we're building confidence in our kids and building confidence in the plan of what we're doing and in our identity of who we're going to be. Um, and them just keep getting reps. And um, we told the kids the other day, like, it doesn't matter, again, if you're a freshman or a sophomore, if you're a JV player, right now, everybody's getting reps in the summertime.
Hmm.
So everybody's getting evaluated. And, um, besides those couple players you mentioned, nobody's really penciled in. But we're just always looking for the best 11. And I'll be honest with you too, Philip, we're always competing. I mean,
Hmm.
right. We compete at kicker. Like, we don't have the same kicker every week. So, and my thing with our coaches and our players is like, it's going to be the best 11 every week. And whoever that best 11 is, we're going to rock and roll with that bunch.
And finally, mentioned a few players, you mentioned some coaches, and just overall, anything I didn't mention about the team, the community of Ashford, anything else you'd like to touch on?
Um, just super thankful, man. I think, you know, it's uh it's just been a great experience, and I'm super excited for year 4. I think we're all here for a reason. Um, Myself with these coaches and with these kids and at this school, like we're all here together at the same time for a reason. And again, this is my purpose and my calling, and I'm super excited I get to do it with this group of people. That's truly a blessing. Watermark Church was another one. Um, I didn't get to mention. They've been a huge help. They're here in Ashford. They've
Hmm.
always poured into our kids. We do Thursday night fellowship there. Uh, Again, I think I mentioned my wife a couple times, but she's phenomenal. She asked me earlier. She was like, "Am I a good coach's wife?" I said you're a good coach's wife. And then I walked out into the garage and I said, "No, she's a great coach's wife." I was like sitting there thinking to myself, "No, she's a great coach's wife."
Mhm.
So, just super thankful, man. I think again, just truly blessed to be in the position that I'm in, and really looking forward to kicking off. I know we got a preseason game versus Miller County on August 13th, and we'll be rocking and rolling. So we're gonna have pads on later in July, and it's definitely starting to feel real.
Yeah, it feels like it's a long ways away, but it's also very close at the same time. We hit this part of the year. It's all very close to the season. And Coach, again, I appreciate you coming on, spending a good 30 minutes talking about your team and everything else around the Ashford Yellow Jackets. And I'm sure we'll talk during the season. And
Oh
I'll be
yeah,
looking forward to those conversations too as well. But Coach, again, I appreciate you coming on and taking the time.
yeah, Philip. Anytime, man. I appreciate you.
All right, once again, thanks to Ashford head coach David Stapleton for coming on this edition of the Wiregrass High School Football Report. And yeah, as I said in the open, we're here talking high school football every single week here on the show. Now, I will announce this for this podcast. Now, this podcast will always be about high school football, and that's what the show has been since 2019. Since I started doing it, I know some of them episodes are not there. We can find them. It's just a long story. But from season 2 on, you have the feed here. So 2020 for the feed, but I have been doing the show since 2019. And it's all been about high school football. And I love that. But I also feel like there's some untapped potential with this show with other things going on in sports in the Wiregrass area. So I will say this, probably starting next week, we'll dive into some other stuff. I mean, the Dothan United Dragons are about to head into a playoff push. You got other stuff going on, other coaches of other sports. I think I could really would enjoy talking to here on the show. Like I said, we're in Alabama. We're in the southeast corner. We're in the Wiregrass. We love our football, and that's always going to be the focus of the show. But you may see in the future the show turn into, I haven't decided if I want to call it the Wiregrass Sports Report or the Wiregrass Sports Podcast. So I'm really figuring that out. But like I said, from here on out, you're going to have some high school football conversation, and we're probably going to, and another reason for that, we're going to slide some Troy Trojans coverage into the show as well. So it's going to expand, but again, most of the show that will still be high school football. Talking about that is very important to me, and that will not change. So I just wanted to be upfront about that. All right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. Make sure to check out the Phillip Jordan podcast this week. Got some big stuff going on over there as well. Got some cool guests. And probably what I'm going to do on YouTube and actually on the Phillip Jordan podcast, do like a week rewind show. So this could be heard. David Stapleton will be heard on that. And then all my other guests for that week on Saturday morning, that will roll out as well. Like a weekend rewind, weekend blitz type kind of deal too as well, kind of mold them all in one. So anyways, that's kind of what we're doing. We're getting close to football season, and it's time to really ratchet it up. And like I said, the name of the show may slightly change to the Wiregrass Sports Report, but at the end of the day, we talk high school football. That will always be the top priority here on the show, but we're going to dive into some other Wiregrass sports. I think from time to time would be pretty cool too as well. All right, again, I'm going to get out of here. I hope everybody has a great week. Check out the Phillip Jordan podcast this week because
best producer, Phillip Jordan, in radio. I mean, the guy is a podcast king. He's got people on from all over the country weekly.